This isn't the skate we wanted. It's free to play. It's always online. It has microtransactions. And yet this is the game that we're getting. When I was 14, I was up late at night learning my first kickflip in the kitchen of my house. Somehow I didn't wake up my parents with my continued attempts. But that's how obsessed I was with skateboarding. I was at the skate park every day after school. I watched every battle at the barracks, and I still remember watching Tony Hawk's old guide on how to learn skateboarding. I loved watching my favourite pro skaters do flat ground skateboarding. And then one day a game came out that was able to capture that feeling for me in a video game. Skate. Suddenly I could skate like the pros I was watching. I could flip trick into nose grinds and skate lines that felt grounded in reality. Skate was able to capture that feeling I was looking for in a skateboarding game, and it completely replaced playing Tony Hawk's games for me. And while growing up, I played every entry to the Tony Hawk's franchise. It was more about this arcadey skateboarding chaos, doing crazy tricks and skate lines that felt completely unrealistic. But for me, skate was able to capture the soul of skateboarding. Just the way it looked when you did a kickflip, the layout of the city, and the controls made every trick feel earned. If you did do skateboarding in real life, the thumbstick controls felt really intuitive. And now, after 15 years of waiting, which is crazy to say, EA is finally giving us Skate back. But it doesn't look like the Skate that I fell in love with. It's always online, it's got microtransactions, and the graphics just look really cartoony. Is this still Skate, or has it become a Fortnite skateboarding game? So let's take a look at the Skate series to see why the new Skate feels like such a departure from what we loved. Back in 2007, EA dropped the first Skate game, which brought with it the new revolutionary control scheme that we all know today, controlling your feet with the joystick of the controller. At the time, I was still on PlayStation 2 and I was playing Tony Hawk's Project 8, and for the most part it played like any other of the Tony Hawk's games, using the square button to do flip tricks, using the circle button to grab, and triangle to grind. It's very much what you would expect from a Tony Hawk's game, but it tried to bring in this new system where you could slow down time and make up your own tricks. And while I did have some fun with this system, the game was just beginning to feel a little bit old to me, let alone the fact I was playing the outdated version on the PlayStation 2, while most people were playing it on the PlayStation 3. What was the first skateboarding game you played? And at this point I quietly put down my skateboarding games because I had not yet had the chance to try Skate. But soon I would, with the release of Skate 2. Skate 2 was released in 2009, and this is when I would get my first taste of the Skate series. I started seeing Skate 2 pop up at friends' houses who had those later consoles, and I was immediately taken away by that control scheme. It just made perfect sense to me as a skateboarder. I could pull the stick down, flick up and to the side, and I would do a kickflip. I could do a tray flip by scooping and flicking. It felt exactly like what I did with my actual feet in real life. And not just that, but it was grounded in skateboarding culture. Thrasher is a big name in the skateboarding world, and at the time they had a series called The Hall of Meat, where you could see professional skateboarders take big slams whilst trying to do certain tricks. And what made Skate 2 such a fun party game for us at the time was the mode Hall of Meat. This is where you would compete against a friend to see who could injure their skateboarder the most. We spent many hours playing that game mode at house parties, and it provided endless amounts of fun at the time. Being able to realistically roll up to some sort of high ledge or a cliff face, jump off and see how much you could hurt your character was a fantastic time. But it wouldn't be until the next entry of the series where I would get my own Xbox 360 and have the ability to play Skate myself at home. This video is not sponsored, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone on the Patreon. It's your support that makes this all work, and if you'd like to support the channel, then check the Patreon link out down below. Skate 3 released in 2010. The game immediately opens up with Coach Frank, who is there to set up the game for you and teach you how to get started. But I immediately recognised Coach Frank as the actor from My Name is Earl, who just so happens to be a pro skater himself. And throughout the story of Skate 3, you end up interacting with many well-known names and pros who are in the skateboarding scene. It gave the skateboarding sandbox that was Skate 3 a direction, something to work towards. I had to go and grow my own skateboard team and sell as many skateboards as possible. But for me, the real fun wasn't in the story, It was in the skateboarding simulation itself. I spent a lot of my time playing Skate at specific spots just to do realistic tricks down stairs or off ledges that felt grounded in reality to me. What drove me to play Skate 3 so much was the fact that I could do tricks that I felt like I could actually see in a video or potentially do myself in real life. I oftentimes would load the game up just to see how realistically I could do a single kickflip, as the amount that you flicked the controller would dictate how hard you flicked the board. And when I would be able to play the game in a way that looked realistic, I just had this satisfied feeling when I played it. And the world of Skate 3 felt absolutely huge. I could spawn in at the top of the map and then spend ages skating my way all the way to the bottom. And all the way at the bottom was this nice red skate park, and I would spend so much time skating there. There was just so many spots to find in that game, and as that person that wanted to come in with the lens of I wanted to do realistic tricks, there was so many spots to find. I do remember one complaint that I had about Skate 3 when I first played it, after having played Skate 2 first around a friend's house, and that was the camera angle. The camera angle in Skate 2 was more of a fisheye lens look, and it was lower down to the skateboarder, and it gave it that more realistic feel. But then in Skate 3, I remember commenting that the camera felt so far back, it didn't feel like what I was doing really looked as nice as it did in Skate 2. That camera angle in Skate 2 almost made it feel like you were in a skate video and you were controlling the skater. In the end, Skate 3 sold 4.74 million copies. But more than just the sales, Skate 3 has solidified itself as a cult classic. It's a fantastic game and one of the best skateboarding simulations out there. And that brings us to today. And what we have isn't Skate 4, it's Skate full stop. What seems to be set up to be a free-to-play, always online, live service experiment. I've been watching gameplay videos of Skate full stop because I personally don't have access to the game myself. And from what I can tell, the mechanics look very similar to how it plays in the other Skate entries. It plays very similarly to what we would expect. But, and it's a big but, it's completely overshadowed by everything else. The game is going to be always online. There is no offline play. So if I happen to lose the internet, I'm just going to get booted from the game. If I just want to have a quiet session to myself, doing some tricks down some stairs, will I be able to do that? While I did enjoy the online aspects of Skate 3, being able to jump in and play with anyone whenever I like to also play on my own and sesh those rails and do tricks that I feel like look realistic to me quietly on my own, so I don't want to always have to play it online. Microtransactions as well. I'll be honest, for the most part, I completely ignore microtransactions because I just don't want to waste my money on cosmetics that don't change the game for me. I would rather pay for a game up front and have complete access to it. Instead, I don't want future things potentially being locked behind microtransactions. It might even be the fact that you might get some sort of map or something in the future and you're going to have to pay for that map. I'll be honest, I prefer to just buy a complete product. And I've seen some videos pop up showing that Skate will have what seems to be a battle pass, which is kind of to be expected since it is a free-to-play game. But now it's trying to induce that FOMO feeling. If you don't log in and play enough during Season 1, you won't get all of your cosmetics. And one of the biggest criticisms I have seen of Skate full stop is its graphics, the art style. Fortnite on wheels. I've seen endless comments of people criticising this art style. And to be honest, for me, it does look a bit too wacky to be a skate game. When I look at Skate 3 and Skate 2, it's got more of a gritty vibe to it, particularly those earlier games in the series. Skate 3 did have a bit more colour to it, but it feels more like you're playing in a world where you could fall over and hurt yourself. It had Hall of Meat. That's quite gritty, isn't it? How many bones can you break? Whereas now it feels more like it's trying to appeal to a younger audience. And I noticed in this video by Night Speeds, the game starts on this giant mega ramp, and he even mentioned himself that it feels quite divorced from reality when you're starting on a mega ramp. That's not how you start skateboarding. You don't start on one of the biggest ramps in the world doing crazy tricks. You start on the flat ground. And I also noticed how instead of having a guy telling you how to play the game, you've now got this little robot called V. And V would chime in with little hints and quirkiness that just doesn't feel right in the skate game. And I saw that Nightspeeds himself was even saying that he just didn't like that. And it only takes one look into the comments of any video on Skate Full Stop to see what the overall opinion of this game is. The top comment on Nightspeed's video would have happily paid $60 to $80 for a game with a proper storyline and offline mode. Those are my thoughts exactly. I would rather just pay for a complete package. AI took Coach Frank's job. What's frustrating is the gameplay and animations themselves are more than acceptable, but literally everything else is so far from what Skate should be. That damn robot is so annoying. Feel you on how jarring the start feels with the mega ramp and that stupid V thing. The game seems really awesome. I just can't get over how cartoony the character models look. And as far as I can tell, there are a lot of features missing as well. It doesn't even seem like there is going to be a story mode. And while earlier I said that I had more fun in completing realistic tricks than playing through the story, I still really appreciated that there was a story to play through and there was those professional skateboarders in the game itself. There's no confirmation of a Hall of Meat mode. Although, does Hall of Meat seem too gritty for this new Fortnite-styled Skate Full Stop? And what's worse, there have been criticisms that the world feels empty and that there are these daily challenges and that they're very repetitive. It reminds me of daily quests in MMOs. You're asked to do the same thing every day to get some sort of in-game stat or some money. I'm going to be really tired of that if that is in Skate, if it's like, go and kickflip over this gap. And then the next day, go and kickflip over this gap. Go and kick... Why do I want to do these stupid daily challenges? And given that it's a free-to-play game, it probably will give you some sort of currency that you have to slowly earn through doing these daily challenges so you can get cosmetic rewards. But do correct me if I'm wrong on that front. And just going back to the fact that the game starts on a mega ramp, that does feel very disconnected from how you start off as a skateboarder. I know it could bring in spectacle. What a lot of people remember about Skate 3 is those giant mega ramp maps doing loads and loads of kickflips. But when you think about skateboarding in real life, where do you start? I started on the flat ground. I spent most of my time trying to perfect my flip tricks, and that's why I have such a deep appreciation of when I do certain tricks in Skate that feel realistic to me and grounded in the reality of what I could potentially achieve. It's just satisfying. But in this Skate Full Stop, you start on that mega ramp and you're already at the Michael Bay explosion of skateboarding. It gets you right in there and you're totally divorced from the reality of skateboarding. And while I think the spectacle of the mega ramp at the start of the game could be explained by the fact that it's going for a more broad audience, I think we could explain the simplified art style by what seems to be the fact that Skate could be released on all platforms, mobile included. It seems that Skate's going to come out on all consoles, on PC and on mobile phones, so it needs to be simple enough to run on a phone. So yes, while the mechanics of Skate Full Stop may feel like Skate, what about the soul? And while I brought up the fact that Skate is coming out on PC, I want to talk about how PC skateboarding gamers have been starved for a good game for years. Skate never officially even came to the PC. You could only really play on the PC if you emulate it. The times when I was playing Skate 3 is when I had an Xbox 360. The only thing that's been keeping skateboarding alive on the PC is indie developers. Personally, I picked up a copy of Skater XL. It's very similar to what you would want from a skate game. The trick system is somewhat different, but essentially the same, split across two joysticks. But there is no progression, there is no story. It's purely a sandbox. And while that's been enough to hold my attention for over 56 hours of play on Steam, there is that feeling that I'm just wanting more. And while I opted to go down the route of playing Skater XL, my friend decided to pick up a copy of Session. To me, it's these two skate games that have kept skateboarding games alive on the PC, and I've had a lot of fun playing Skater XL. My friends had a good time playing sessions, but it's still not Skate. And this is why Skate Full Stop's upcoming release matters so much, because it's going to bring the Skate franchise officially and finally to the PC platform. But if it ends up just being a free-to-play cash shop, does it really matter? Will I ultimately end up loading back up Skater XL? EA makes roughly 3/4 of all of its revenue from live service gaming. EA's $1.6 billion Ultimate Team Edition shows why they want Skate Full Stop to be a live service. According to this article from Game Developer, EA has pledged to double down on live services due to the financial gains of modes like Ultimate Team. And this was back in 2021. And Skate Full Stop was initially announced in 2020. So is it any surprise that it's following this trend? And how would EA have handled a Skate 4 anyway? It does remind me of the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. Back in 2015, the latest entry to the Tony Hawk's franchise came out to a widely negative response. The game was glitchy and the levels did not feel well thought out. And the thing that stood out to me was its graphic style and the way that it looked when you did tricks. It just felt so dated, and the art style did not feel cohesive with that. So in some ways it mirrors the response to Skate Full Stop. But then there have been successes. 2020's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remakes have seen a positive response. So the way that I see it, Skate Full Stop could go down one of two routes. It could become a community first live service and end up lasting decades. Or it could become an EA cash grab that dies when servers shut down. Skate was built on rawness, built on the street spots, and to be honest, a culture that never really cared about the game being overly polished. So if this reboot is really going to work, it needs to honour that, because this goes beyond just being another entry to the franchise. For a lot of us, it feels like the last chance we have, and we've been waiting over a decade for it. So this might not be the Skate that we wanted, but it's the only Skate that we've got. And as someone who grew up skateboarding, who religiously practiced flat ground tricks, a person who spent all their free time at the skate park, and carried that obsession into video games, I want this game to succeed, but I want it to stay true to the Skate that we know and love. Thank you so much for listening to me today, and if you'd like to hear me talk more about video games, then click this video that's popped up now. Thank you so much to all the Patreons, and thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video.